give you the topic for the training because, as I was going to say a minute ago, that when we were on the new associate call Monday night, Frank and I had the honor of actually doing the training on that call. A question came up, and I thought, we get this question
a lot.
Almost every new associate, either if they're not asking it, I guarantee you they're thinking it. And most of you on the line at certain times are thinking this question too regarding conducting our business. And here's the question. What do we say to people? We all want to make exposures. We know we were supposed to use the tools. In fact, you can write this down. Sort, not convince, tools, and events. I mean, that's kind of the slogan for
that again?
Sort, not convince, tools, and events.
Use tools and events.
Mm-hmm.
Use tools and events.
Use tools and events. I mean, that's the slogan for our, that's really what we do. We sort what we don't convince. We use the tools, and we use the events. And so how to make an exposure, how to invite somebody to look at the information is so important that we get comfortable with. So we have invited on the line tonight one of our favorite leaders in all the company. This gentleman has family. He's amazing. Got a great background. In fact, I would like for him to quickly tell his story because he's got a great story, a great success story here in Prepaid Legal. We're honored to have him as a part of our organization. To date, he's got over 6,000 memberships in his organization. He and his team have empowered over 6,000 families with his incredible membership.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and he's got over 1,300 associates on his team who enjoyed making the money along the way. So we're very proud of Mr. Rob Hurst out of Ohio. Really proud to have him as
part of the Crutcher team.
Part of the Crutcher team and on our executive team. So, Mr. Rob Hurst, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Thank you so much for being on the call tonight. We're all excited to hear your training, and we do have open line for some of our executives who are on that might later want to make a comment too.
And we know how busy he is right
now.
So
you're
thank
busy.
you so
last
much
of the
for
month,
being on here tonight.
The busiest time of the month for the new people on the line is always the last 24, 48 hours of the month. And here Mr. Hurst is ready to give us some training in his time tonight. So thank you so much. We're anxious to really help everybody understand some examples of what to say, how to create that exposure, warm market, cold market, the whole works.
Okay. All right. Well, wonderful. I'm glad I could be a part of the call, and let me just say I just appreciate you and Frank for everything that you all do for our organization and just your leadership and just everything you all are putting together. Love the team website. I just got to throw a quick plug in for that. It is an awesome website, thepathwaytowealth.com. So definitely a great tool to utilize for our organization. So I want to get into the call. I've been with the company for about 6 years, actually about 6.5 years now probably, and got started because I needed the services. So I wasn't really looking to get started with the business opportunity when I was originally exposed to it, but the gentleman shared with me the services, and the services caught my attention because I had an ongoing situation. I was a victim of identity theft. I needed some assistance with that. I had warrants out for my arrest. Long story, but it was very stressful. But Prepaid Legal, by me having a membership and utilizing the services immediately, I was able to get that situation resolved within minutes. So I was really pleased and very impressed with the product and with the services. And so I went back to the gentleman who shared the information with me and asked him about the business side of it. Did not know at all that Prepaid Legal would definitely be able to retire me from my full-time job at the age of 31. Simply just got started, just to make an extra $500 or more a month. Wasn't really, like I said, looking to do some big things, but I just wanted to do some extra things, but some extra things became big things. So that's a little bit about me. Background prior to Prepaid Legal was as a UPS driver. So, if you all see those UPS drivers, trust and believe, those guys are hard workers. I just took that same work ethic and just put it into my business. So I want to go ahead and get started with the call on tonight and just really talk about the exposure process. And I can remember when I was new, that was my question. What do I say? How do I do it? How do I make that approach to someone I don't know? I understood how to have my sponsor kind of help me in contacting and inviting for my private business reception with my warm market. On your cold market, you're kind of on your own, and this is something that you do throughout the day. Now, here's a few things that you can write down. I like what Teresa said I forgot it real quick, the slogan, but, I believe that quotes will always remind you when you're getting ready to maybe go the other way. I remember when I first came into business, I would hear Frank say all the time, stick and stay, you'll get your pay. And it just stuck with me. So I'm going to give you a couple things just to remember as you're out there exposing, just a few things to remember. Because the thing about it is the exposure process can be very, very simple. You just want to always remember that you're utilizing the tools, and you don't have to say everything. So here's a couple things. Loose lips sink ships. I heard Mr. Coyne say that early on when I got into business. So that's definitely one. So if you find yourself, and you're talking way too much, understand that eventually that ship is probably going to sink. Here's another one. The less you say, the more money you will make. The less you say, the more money you will make. Here's another one. Amateurs convince, professionals sort. So those are three quotes I just want to kind of throw out there real quick that kind of play in my mind even till today, still to this day, it plays in my mind. Amateurs convince, professionals sort. So our job as associates in prepaid legal services is to pique the interest. That's our job, is to pique the interest, not to sell people on prepaid legal as we're out there exposing, is not to give them a full-blown presentation. Our job is simply to pique their interest. And here's another way you can look at it. Look at it like advertising. If you had a shop, let's say a barber shop or a new restaurant or something like that, you would not, go out and say, hey, look, listen, I'm getting ready to, cook you up a good meal of my new restaurant. You would just share with them, hey, look, I'm in business. So that's the way I've always looked at it. And so you have to remember, what we do, it is a very part-time thing, and it can be very, very fun. Prepaid legal to me is fun. And so knowing that every day, our goal is to make a minimum of 2 exposures a day. That's it, a minimum. Now, never make your maximum your minimum. If you do 3, great. If you do 5, better. But a minimum of 2, and here's why. If I'm doing 2 exposures a day, let's say I'm doing it 7 days a week, that's about 56 people that I've exposed. So that's a lot of people, and so I don't want to get into the situation of starting and stopping because, what happens in that, you really don't get any really good, consistent activity and results. And a lot of times what happens, I'm guilty of it. I've done it. I might do a couple exposures here, a couple exposures there, and then I'm following up with some of the same people. And then now I went from being a prepaid legal associate to a prepaid legal stalker. So the thing is, you want to always, do the 2 exposures a day, and that way your business keeps moving. That way you're not, getting frustrated, maybe someone you didn't get in contact with, or, because the reality is we're sorting. Not everybody is going to see it. People are going to recruit themselves. So let's talk about the exposure process and how this can work for you in your business and your everyday life. Now, I will admit, even till now, even to this day, it is to step out of your comfort zone, to introduce yourself to someone and give some information, still to this day, can be uncomfortable, but we know success is earned outside of our comfort zone. But here's the way I look at it. Exposure probably takes about a couple of minutes. So if you're doing 2 exposures a day, that's about 5 minutes, that you may spend doing that if you're just doing 2 exposures a day. Now, when I started, I had a very busy schedule. I was working full-time in school, the whole 9. So 2 exposures, I knew I could do that. But here's the way I looked at it. I said, look, for 5 minutes, let me step outside of my comfort zone, and I would still have 23 hours and 55 minutes to myself. Now, when I looked at it like that, it totally was liberating. So it became easier for me to go ahead and step out because the worst they could say is no. So let's share with you the exposure process. Now, I'm going to share with you in a story, an example. I believe, stories definitely give you an opportunity to kind of remember. And just this past week, actually, this past Sunday, I had a new associate, and she said, hey, I want to share this information with a good friend of mine. I said, okay, cool, and we went and was getting ready to go and do a sit-down with her. Now, just to give you just a heads up, that the girl had already, she knew about prepaid legal. Her brother used to be involved some years ago, and so, my rule of thumb is, hey, look, I just want to, reintroduce you to the information. So anyway, make a long story short, she says, hey, look, listen, I know all about prepaid legal. You know, I've seen it before. You know, I know it's a lucrative opportunity, but I don't have a lot of time. You know, I work, I'm in school, the whole line. So can you sell me on how I can do prepaid legal? So I kind of looked at her kind of funny. I'm like, what is it that you want me to, because we sort, you know, so what is it that you want me to tell you? She said, well, if I was a person you didn't know, how would you approach me? I said, oh, okay, that's simple. So I said, well, you know, first off, you know, we compliment. Okay, so you have some nice shoes on. So, you know, my wife likes shoes like that. So I might approach you and say something like, you know, man, if you don't mind me asking, my wife loves shoes like that. Where did you get those shoes from? That's a way of complimenting somebody. So number one is to compliment. You know, you compliment someone. And so then the next step is to introduce yourself. All right, so I introduced myself to her. And we're just role playing. She wants to see how this thing works out. And I say, hi, I'm Rob. She says, hi, I'm such and such. I said, okay, great. And asked her a question. So now I start building rapport. So number one is compliment. Number two is introduce yourself. Number three, the stages that I take is build rapport. You know, so a real quick way that you can really find a real common interest is a thing that we call FORM. So if you write that down, FORM, F stands for family, O stands for occupation, R stands for recreation, and M stands for motivation. Okay, so any one of those I can pick, and we can have a good conversation. I asked her, are you from around this area? She said, yeah. I said, okay, great. Real quick, I'm in a hurry, but if you don't mind me asking, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. Now, you know, everybody has their style. Some people, you know, say, are you open to making additional income? But what I said to her, I love putting a smile on somebody's face. I said, are you allergic to extra income? Immediately she busted out laughing. She said, now that's good, okay. And I said, well, here's what I would do. I would give you a DVD. And from there, you know, I'll exchange information from you and follow up with you. Now, so I took her through that whole process, right? She says, now, hold up, Nick. See, that's what I'm saying. I need you to sell me on it. Like, sell me on it. Like how do you, you know, talk to me and get me excited about doing it? I said, you just missed it. I just did it. I said, see, our job is to simply expose you to the information by asking you if you have an interest in looking at it. You said you were open to making additional income. So my job was to give you a tool, let you see it for yourself, and then I'll follow up with you. My job is not to come and tell you, you know, prepaid legal is a lot of money to be made, because now I'm convincing you. But I'm a professional, so I sort. So by me giving you a tool, then you will recruit yourself if you see an opportunity. Long story short, she said, okay, you got me. Now that's good. I can see myself doing that. And so here's the thing, you know, we want to, as we're out there exposed, we want to be natural. You know, we don't want to, you know, stress ourselves out about it. You know, here's the thing, you're going to mess up. And laugh, you know, be okay with laughing at yourself. You know, I heard Darnell Self say, you know, you have to, if you want to be a millionaire, you have to be willing to be embarrassed. You know, so, but the thing about it is the more you do it, the better you get at it. The only way you can get better at exposure is to continually do them. That's why I love, you know, Jeff Olson's such a genius about the 2 exposures a day, because, you know, it's that little bit over time, that slight edge, what starts to happen, you get better and better and better at that skill. So the exposure process, once again, is to introduce yourself. So you compliment. Number 2 is introduce yourself. 3 is build rapport. And 4 is expose with the tool. And then you're out. You know, so, you know, I love the approach of being in a hurry, because we don't want to get into explaining this and that. You know, I just want them to look at the information, see it for themselves. And they can see it for themselves. A lot of great things happen. I can share all kind of stories with you all tonight. In fact, I got to sit down, believe it or not, at 10:30, actually in 25 minutes. And so this guy actually, you know, went to KFC, you know, to grab something to eat one late night. And I asked him a simple question, because I said, man, you must be the franchise owner, you know, of this actual location, because he was the manager. And already perked up. I complimented him. He said, "Well, no, I'm not the franchise owner, but I am, you know, the manager for this location." I said, "Oh, wow, okay, great." I said, "Well, my name's Rob." He said, "Well, my name is Darius." I said, "Okay, great. Are you from around here?" He said, "No, actually, I'm from Chicago." I said, oh, really? What brought you here from Chicago? Anyway, we get into this whole conversation, and he says, well, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do? I said, I'm so glad you asked. And I said, I actually work with a company where we actually provide legal services and help protect people from identity theft. He said, hold up. Did you say identity theft? I said, yeah. He said, you know what? I just had a situation where I lost my wallet. It had my Social Security number in it. It had my kid's Social Security number in it. And I don't know what to do about it. I said, let me go get you some information. So the thing is, that was something I wasn't planning on doing exposure. It's just that as I come into contact people, I just incorporate it in everything I do. And so you want to keep it simple. You don't want to it's not really that deep as far as, okay, let me really get in this mode. Just do it, and that's my advice on that. Just do it. So the last thing is, like I said, is third party, just understanding the power of third party, using third party tools and getting yourself out of the picture allows the tools to work, which means allows your business to duplicate. And the other thing, one other quote, if I can give you another quote, never tell them anything until you can tell them everything. Never tell them anything until you can tell them everything. Meaning, all I want to do is pique the interest. I'm not trying to go into the 5 titles and the compensation, until I can get in front of you, because there's a follow-up process afterwards and get them to an event, until I can let you see everything, and then you can definitely probably make a decision by that point, because people need about 3 or 4 exposures anyway before they make a decision. So that's pretty much it. My exposure process. Now, here's one last thing. Now, I call this a chicken exposure, and this is how I started out. Because I was really trying to get into that mode. So this is something I'm just throwing in there for extra. It's what I call a chicken exposure. And I use this with a business card. So a chicken exposure is something like this. Let's say I see somebody that's sharp, whatever, I just want to expose them. I would go up to them and say, hey, I just want to give you my business card. Now, immediately, as soon as they look at that business card, they see prepaid legal services. They're like, I see them looking at it. I say, oh, do you know anything about that? I say yes or no. It doesn't matter what they say. I say, oh, wow, well, let me ask you a question. Do you keep your options open making additional income? So just a quick segue to get the tool out. So that's why I call it chicken exposure, because by me giving a business card, it already piques interest for them, or at least sets it up for me to talk about that card so I can get a tool in their hand. So those are a couple things, just some of the things I've learned over time that have definitely played a key part in my success in the business. And like I said, prepaid legal was fun. Have fun with it. Be natural. Be excited. Be exciting, and you will have success. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. and Mrs. Okoye.
That was awesome, and I love that example of that young lady asking you today or yesterday, whenever that was, to sell her, and you. I mean, that was perfect. I mean, so she realizes that's not what we do. We just simply get people in front of the information, or get the information in front of people. Great job, Mr. Hurst. That was awesome. Now let me, before we open it up for our executives to comment, why don't we talk for just a minute? That's really how to expand our list. These examples were really, you've been in the business how many years now? 6 years? Is that right, Mr. Hurst? Okay.
6 years.
So you've been through your warm market, and this is a way to expand your warm market. You're creating new contacts every day when you're out. Any advice for the new people on the line who are actually still working in their very warm market?
Say that one more time.
Do you have any advice? For the new people on the line who are, going into their warm market, rather than they wouldn't, like this is an example of you give somebody a compliment, you introduce yourself. For the people that they already know, like when you work with a brand new associate and they've got a list of 100 names, any advice for those people and how to contact those people, their friends and family?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, once again, especially with your warm market, you definitely want to be yourself. You don't want to sound robotic, and I'm not really a big person on script. So what I do is I'm working with someone. I'm going to help them, assist them with that whole process, and normally we're trying to get in front of some people immediately, as soon as possible. So I want to find out who on this list can we get in front of, like today, or tomorrow. And so I just share with them, let's go ahead and make a phone call. So we make a phone call, and I tell them, all I want you to say is this: hey, look, do you have a few minutes? All right, so we already get permission for their time. They say, yes, I have a few minutes. Okay, great. I'm really excited, about some information I thought that you could benefit from. And rather than me try to explain it myself, I want you to hear it for yourself. And afterwards, see if you have any questions, see if you have interest. I say, okay, great. Now, if I'm with them, I'll go ahead and show them how to put them on a pre-recorded call. If they happen to be on their own, if they feel comfortable doing that, they can put them on a pre-recorded call. But I just show them how to put someone on a pre-recorded call so they can hear the information, and then we can start the process of, what did you like best, having a private business reception, or I'd like to come out tomorrow and show you a little bit more information. But I really immediately are kind of getting them in a three-way call process, letting them see either how it works through me, using it, or how they can use it themselves as far as contacting and inviting.
That's great. I love that. In fact, sizzle calls is something that can really fill in the gap. It really makes things move quicker. What's your number one sizzle call that you like to use?
512-703-6148, option 1. That's Tara Ossenbach.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite ones.
Mine too. I use that one a lot. She's awesome on that one. And that's what, about 4 minutes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. All right, so you have given everybody some incredible advice. I would like to open it up for just a few minutes, Mr. Hurst, for any other executives that are on the line that have anything you'd like to give as tips and suggestions. For anybody listening tonight, whether they're brand new or seasoned in the business, I know we've got some incredible executives who just do a fabulous job constantly making new exposures and training their new associates to do the same. So do we have Mr. Miner on?
Yes, ma'am. You sure do.
Great. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Oh, man. First of all, I just want to compliment Mr. Rob Hurst. I can understand why Ohio is doing what it's doing with people like him leading the charge. And, I just want to add to what he said. There's no way I could top it. But, as far as the little quotes, that was right on, because here's a couple more I just want to throw out there to you. And one is that you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And sometimes we wonder what we should say, what we shouldn't say, and we let the opportunity to say something, period, pass by. So that was one that I remember. And the last one, another one is, learn how to say less to more people. That simply means let the tools do the talking for you. And here's one. I just got to leave with this, and then I'll give the other executives a chance to say something. Two things. One is that make sure, guys, that you take advantage of the team website. I tell you what, if you really want to understand how to shortcut yourself to success, the pathway to wealth is just, Charlotte, you did an awesome job on that. And I'm not just saying that because of this call. I'm saying that because it really helped me with my team. But here's something I want to throw out to you guys, especially if you're working with your warm market. I heard this at Myrtle Beach 2 years ago. So if you're looking for a reason to go to Myrtle Beach, the tips that you get may help you as it helped me. Here's what you can say to people in your warm market, especially people who you may know, but maybe say you haven't talked to them for a while. Let's say that Mr. Hurst is a good friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a while, and so I give him a call, because now I'm a new associate. I'm excited about prepaid legal services, and I want him to take a look at it. So it would go something like this. I would call him up, and I would say to him, hey, Rob, you got a minute? And, yeah, what's up, man? Well, Rob, look, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, and, I apologize for that, but, I've been busy. But, honestly, here I am at this point in my life. 40 years old, and I really thought at this point in my life I would be at a different place. But, man, I just found something that I really think can make me make up for that lost time and also that lost income. And I never really told you this, Rob, but I've always admired you and respect you, and it would mean so much to me if you would just take a look at this information that I found. And, and I think when you use that approach by being open, honest, and sincere, you will get a lot of people that will look what you have. And that's all we want them to do, because as he said, we're not trying to convince, we're just sorting, but we need to let the tools do the sorting for us. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it on and let any of the other executives add anything that they want to share with the team.
That was great. Awesome tips. I'll tell you that I call that being very transparent, with, and then people can relate to that. So that's a great approach for many new associates. It really is. It gets people's attention and it makes people want. It's very compelling, isn't it?
I think when you use those terms, it would mean everything in the world to me and my family if you take a look at this.
It's huge. And then we may I don't know if we do or not. I don't know if we have any other executives on the line tonight live with us. If we do, we'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and speak up. Do you have Mr. Eddie Smith still on, or did he ever come back?
Eddie Smith or Mike?
Yeah, I made it back, believe it or not.
Well, we're glad. You must have been traveling.
I was, and I'm stationary now, and it's been a phenomenal call. Again, I thank you for having me on the line. The only thing I'd just like to say is that for new associates and for associates who've been in the business a little while, you got to be real careful. There's so many different ideas about how to in this business, great ideas, great approaches, great systems. You got to be real careful not to get caught in using a different system every day or every week. Find something that fits your personality and make it yours and make it natural, because there's so many ways you can do this. Just find one that works for you and stick to it. That's all I'd like to add to it. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, that's very, very good advice, Mr. Smith. Thanks. Yeah, don't try to be somebody you're not, and find what works for you and don't change it. That's really good. I think we should have Mr. Michael Johnson on the line too, unless he had to step away. Mr. Johnson, are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am. I would never step away with this great information.
Awesome.
Mr. Hurst, he did a wonderful job. I really can't add anything to it. I'm really going to steal that one. Are you allergic to extra income? I love that. I love that. But two things I wanted to mention. First of all, what I noticed that he mentioned is that, Mr. Hurst, he just does his exposures in his everyday routine. I mean, we all have a routine throughout the whole week or our daily living. I mean, whether we're going to the grocery store or at work or to the gas station, and there's people all around us all the time. So he's just drumming up a great conversation, complimenting folks and introducing himself, and, of course, that starts a good rapport. And, again, therefore, he's able to expose an individual. And I love the example he had with the KFC guy. But one side note I want to mention to all new associates, as well as maybe some veterans on the phone, sometimes when our new associates are making their list and they're real reluctant about putting this certain person down on the list, we need to put everyone on our list, on our warm market, everyone, because, again, there's a saying that the people we think that will do the business won't, and the people we think that won't do the business will. And there's nothing worse than going to a briefing, seeing somebody there that was on your list that you didn't want to call because you didn't think they would do the business. So, and what's worse than that is going to a convention, seeing somebody on your list that's at the convention, walking across the stage because you simply didn't want to call them on your list. So only thing I wanted to add is just, of course, call everybody on your list, new associates. Again, the people we think won't will, and the people we think will won't. I'll turn the call back over to you.
Awesome stuff. All right, Frank, you got
I think all that's good, isn't it?
I'd like Frank there's one really tricky thing, because you want to be able to follow up with people, and so if if it's not a warm market contact and it's somebody you just met out and about, in your everyday life, then you want to be able to follow up with them, and you probably don't already have their contact information. So how you ask for that's really key.
Yeah, I'll just give you a for instance. The other day I met a young man in a sports store, and we started talking, and it went real well. Matter of fact, he was looking at some sporting stuff. I was looking for a metal detector, and we started chatting there, and asked him what he did for a profession. He said he was a firefighter. He was an ex-Marine or an ex-Army sniper. And when he asked me what I did, I told him that I work with a company on the New York Stock Exchange. And I said, by the way, our company's expanding. Do you know anybody looking for anything part-time or full-time? And he kind of mentioned he'd like to meet, as a matter of fact. And I said, well, I'd be happy to do that. I said, is there any way I can contact you other than at work? I did not ask him for his phone number. And I want you to remember that. If you ask somebody for their phone number, it's almost getting a little too private like you're going to bug them. And I don't know why it is, but when you ask them this question, I'd love to get back in touch with you. Is there any way I can contact you other than at work? And normally they will give you their phone number, their cell phone, or an email. And now at least you have contact information, and you haven't got into their private space. Now, that doesn't always work, but I would say it works about 99% of the time. I do that constantly. I mean, just constantly. Matter of fact, if I'm in a 7-Eleven or any place in a restaurant or something, and I see somebody I want to talk to, maybe it's a waiter or somebody behind the counter, when there's no other clients around, I'll just walk over and say, listen, do you mind if I ask you a question? And they'll go, no, what's that? I'll say, well, I've been watching with these clients, and I work with a company on the New York Stock Exchange. If you ever want to change careers, I would love to have the opportunity to talk to you. I think you'd do good well with our company. Is there any way I could contact you other than at work here so we could talk about that? And I've never failed to get somebody's phone number like that. I mean, that is so easy to do. Now, not everybody's comfortable doing that, but if you just start with a question, I always start with a question and say, do you mind if I ask you a question? And they go, most people say yes, go ahead.
And Mr. Hurst did that tonight.
Yeah, and I'll just say, well, first of all, my name's Frank Coyne. What's yours? They tell me, and I'll go, I'm a recruiter for a company on the stock exchange, and we're looking for people. Do you know anybody in this area looking for part-time or full-time work? Or, we're expanding this area. Do you know anybody looking for part-time or full-time work? And then if they say yes or no, or even if they say no, I say, well, listen, I know this is strange, but would you mind if I give you a DVD about our company and a CD? And if you could take a look at it, and if you like what you see, I'd like to talk to you. But if you don't, maybe you know somebody that is looking. Would you mind if I gave you something? And they normally say, go ahead, and I give them the DVD. And that's when I say, well, is there any way I can get back in touch with you other than at work? And they normally give them the phone number. So, that's just an easy transition, an easy way to do it. It doesn't insult anybody. It doesn't get in their private space.
Yeah, it's indirect, actually.
It's very indirect.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're asking for somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, right. But invariably, they end up getting the information and they're interested, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that works. That's great.
Absolutely.